Hello, I'm Monsignor Charles Minor.
And I'm Alice Vale. You know, we here at Reel to Reel continue to marvel at the number of our older citizens who, after retirement, throw themselves into some kind of volunteer work that often keeps them as busy after retirement as they were before retirement. And 81-year-old Bill Lennox certainly fits that description.
He gained national attention as the first priest to adopt a child. Tonight we'll meet him, Father George Clement. Expressions this week eulogizes Bishop James Walsh, a Maryknoll missionary who spent 12 years in a Chinese prison. And People and Places gives us a treat of Leonard Bernstein's production, The Mass. Bill Lennox is a very busy man, but he has been for all his 81 years. Retired in 1977 after 20 years as sheriff in Philadelphia, he uses every day to its fullest extent. His volunteer works, his many activities keep him moving all day long. Join us now as we take a look at this man, whom some people describe as a man on whom you can warm your hands. Bill Lennox, husband, father, politician, art lover, fitness enthusiast, former sheriff of Philadelphia, a dedicated worker at Malvern Retreat House and St. John's Hospice, a man living life to the fullest extent. Bill's daily schedule would make a younger man's head spin, yet for 81-year-old Bill Lennox, each day is a challenge. Bill's work at Malvern Retreat House, known also as St. Joseph's in the Hills, has been a rewarding experience for him. He talked about his years at Malvern and his pride in being an important part of the Retreat League.
I first made a retreat here at St. Joseph's in the Hills in 1924, June of that year. I've been in constant attendance as a retreatant since that time. Today I'm a member of the Board of Directors. I have served on several committees of the Board of Directors of the Retreat League. At the present time, we're actively engaged in trying to gather together the archives, getting the background and the history of the Retreat League over these many years. From the very beginning, we talked about St. Joseph's in the Hills as a place where men would come to refresh themselves with faith. And this has been our constant motto over the years. We hope that a man would come here and on a Friday night, and as he enters into the spirit of the retreat and participates in the retreat, he would leave here on Sunday at noon spiritually refreshed.
When Bill comes home each day, his wife of 53 years, Catherine, is there to share his experiences and enthusiasm. As the parents of 5 children, one of their favorite subjects is talking about their 19 grandchildren. Mrs. Lennox has her own interests that keep her busy. But one job she has turned over to Bill is one that he does, but he doesn't particularly enjoy.
Bill does the food shopping, and which he had taken over after I had a cataract operation. Previous to that, he wouldn't even go buy a loaf of bread. I better not make any complaint if something that he brings in isn't to my liking, or he'll make me take it over again.
Brother Angus McNeil, more readily known as Brother Stanley, is the director of St. John's Hospice, a shelter and house of refuge for men and women in Philadelphia. Bill Lennox is St. John's oldest and longest-serving volunteer. For 18 years, Bill has been a familiar face to the more than 500 destitute men and women who receive a meal each day at St. John's. No one is turned away. If clothes are needed, there is an immaculate selection of every item of clothing a person needs. And for those who require it, a clean bed is provided to sleep in.
Spend the night here.
Mr. Lennox, as I said, came here when St. John's was opened up. The very first volunteer, the very first day that John arrived and was in this house. He was the sheriff of Philadelphia at that time. And I read an article in Catholic Digest about Jimmy Durante and Clayton's description of Durante being a man that you could warm your hands on. Well, Mr. Lennox is much the same type of person as Jimmy Durante.
He has a great reverence for the poor.
He has a great love for the poor. Yes. He's the kind of guy that don't blow his own horn, as they say. But he truly is a beautiful person and a big, big help to us.
Bill is a firm believer in the works of the Little Brothers of the Good Shepherd who manned St. John's. During the years he was sheriff, Bill still found time to volunteer at St. John's and continue his work at Malvern Retreat House. He tells us how his life today is influenced by what he does and the interest he still has in politics.
Many people enter into volunteer work with an idea that it's exciting or I just don't know how to express it, because it seems to me that they're looking for self-satisfaction. Here at the hospice, you get a great deal more out of your work than you put into it. You have a better appreciation of your own lifestyle and the many things that you have that they do not have or never have had. You have these things in your life at home, with your family, with your children, and so many other things that these poor souls have missed out on. Of all the titles that I've been fortunate enough to have, I'm proudest of the title that people refer to me as a politician. I'm happy about that. Of course, there are many temptations and there are many trials and tribulations in politics, as there is in every walk of life. Every calling, every profession has its pitfalls, and politics is not without theirs. There are many scoundrels in politics, and there are many scoundrels in other professions too. Politics are a lot cleaner on the inside looking out and on the outside looking in.
Another interest Bill has is art. He is taking an art course at the University of Pennsylvania because, he claims, he is a frustrated artist. Swimming keeps him physically fit, and our 81-year-old swims a few times each week. There is still one more activity Bill does, but he does it very reluctantly.
I encouraged it because, after all, I think you have to keep active, because it wouldn't be anything to do to sit around or not. No, he was active all his life, and it would be terrible, I think, if he had to, stop it. And he enjoys them. As long as he enjoys them, I'm all for it.
Bill Lennox wanted to know why we would do a story about him. He couldn't understand what was, as he put it, such a big deal. We saw it a little differently. We saw a man devoted to his church, his family, and the hundreds of people he tries to help. A man who lives his life to the fullest and in return is fulfilled. Today's hectic pace keeps us all moving so quickly, we seldom stop and smell the flowers. Bill is fond of quoting his art teacher who says, "We look at things, but we don't see them." Well, Bill Lennox seems to see things quite clearly. I'm a little embarrassed just watching him. I get tired when I think only of his activities and his schedule. Next up, we're going to commemorate a very great missionary in our time, and also Leonard Bernstein's production, The Mass. Stay with us.
I'm very happy to be free once again. I never thought I would ever see the day of my release. I felt that I would not live long enough to complete my sentence of 20 years and that I would die in prison.
Bishop James Walsh was a Maryknoll missionary to China. In 1958, the Chinese government accused him of espionage and imprisoned him. Even in captivity, he gave his years to the people he loved.
Give me your seasons, and I will take the time. Give me your reasons, and I will give the rhyme.
I have no bitterness towards those who tried and condemned me. I could never feel anger with any Chinese. I felt that way almost from the day I first set foot in China in 1918.
Ask me to borrow, and I will lend it thee. Lay down your deserts, and I will be the sea.
Bishop Walsh died on July 29, 1981. He belonged to a missionary era that survived warlords and pirates, that withstood hostility and imprisonment, all for the sake of the precious message he carried, the gospel of Jesus Christ.
The Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts in Washington, D.C. celebrated its 10th anniversary by bringing back the production that first opened its doors, Leonard Bernstein's Mass. Also invited back was Michael Hume, a young actor who has performed Mass in cities all over the world.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the Mass Company. It's 1:30. This is your half-hour call.
I personally have a very strong faith and a very strong belief in God and in the tenets of the Roman Catholic Church. When I first did Mass 10 years ago, I was in college and I was going through a period of my life when I was full of doubt as to what I was, how I was involved with my church and with my God. And then suddenly this role was more or less thrust upon me. Since the first time I did it, I was an understudy. My own beliefs were shored up by the experience of playing the celebrant.
The role of the celebrant begins with the person of Michael. He shares his joy with his community, all is celebrative and secure. But as the piece progresses, a crisis of faith develops. The celebrant becomes encased within his own protective traditions. Now unreachable, he is a figure who represents and exercises authority.
Let us pray!
Under the weight of authority, there is rebellion. And for the celebrant, all that is cherished comes crashing down.
The main message of Mass must be, I think, that the worship of God begins in all of us. It is the single and simple desire and need to praise God, without necessarily all the trappings, all the words. It is the inner spirit which praises God.
The celebrant returns as Michael to praise God in communion with others.
There are few black priests in America today, so being black and a priest brings a certain amount of notoriety with it. There's one black priest in Chicago who's brought even more attention to himself and to a cause he believes in. Father George Clement is pastor of the Holy Angels Church in South Chicago, and he has recently adopted a 13-year-old black orphan named Joey.
This is what you expect a priest to do. This isn't. The man going around the go-kart track is Father George Clement. He's caused a lot of controversy in the Catholic Church, not for being a father in a parish, but for becoming the father of a 13-year-old boy. Last Christmas, Father George Clement told his parishioners of his decision to adopt Joey.
Joey was there with my mother and some more relatives, and I broke the news to the parish. And I was very encouraged that they all applauded. They, in fact, stood up and applauded. And that made me very, very happy because it meant that they were supporting my efforts to try and do something about this terrible problem of homeless children. It's obvious that this is a problem for black people. It is. Whites have to wait 2, 3, 4 years to adopt a white child, whereas there are 100,000 of these homeless black children around this whole nation.
Now, after a period of time, I finally have a family.
His house may be a rectory, but he's one of the lucky orphans who does have a permanent home. Father Clement did this to set an example for black couples to adopt.
Contrary to popular belief, I am a traditionalist, I am a conservative, and I believe very much in celibacy, and I believe very much in a priest performing priestly duties. And I felt that this, and I still feel that this is very much in line with my priestly work.
Tamara, do you take Charles here present for your lawful husband?
As the first, and at this point only, priest in the country to adopt a child, Father Clement has been besieged with questions.
I find a lot of priests are curious. They ask me, how is it coming, and they want to know what I suggested for them and so forth. And I kind of surprise them when I tell them no, I don't, because I am really not advocating that priests adopt. I'm trying to get couples to adopt. And also, of course, these priests would in the main be white. There are very, very few black priests. And I'm certainly not advocating that whites would adopt blacks or vice versa.
If I have faith great enough to move mountains, but have not love, I am nothing.
If the church had told me that I am not allowed to adopt, then I would not have adopted, because I was not prepared to go to the mat with them on this particular issue. I have gone to the mat on other issues. If the church were to say no at this point, then I would have to defy the church, because we have developed too close a relationship now. And there's no way I could ever give Joey up for anything.
I don't know about how he feels, but I think we're going to get along fine.
Oh, I have mixed feelings, because Joey is a normal child in that he is certainly very playful and he's very aggressive. But I think that he has to be constantly told that there is a line and that you don't go beyond that line. Sometimes Joey drives me up the wall.
There aren't many places in Chicago Father Clement and Joey can go without being recognized. As a matter of fact, most of the country knows of them. Joey has come from being an unknown orphan to a celebrity, seen on The Today Show, The Phil Donahue Show, and The Mike Douglas Show. The weekly column Father Clement writes on himself and Joey in the Chicago Sun-Times makes them both household words in Chicago.
When Joey and I are out, people are constantly coming up to us saying, oh, are you the little boy, and are you the priest that adopted, and so forth. And I don't mind it because people have been coming up to me all the time anyway because I'm an unusual person. There aren't that many black priests. I've become accustomed. I don't know about my friend here. How does it affect you?
I don't know how I can put it. It's, you know, sort of tired. It gets sort of tiring after a while.
It's probably hard for Joey to take in all this change, but there are good times and friends as well as adjustments.
I do have to continually tell Joey that he's got to keep his head the right size. That you don't let this stuff go to your head and make you become obnoxious. That you have to always remember what this is all about. Always keep everything in proper perspective. And the normal, everyday things have to be attended to. And just the fact that there are millions of people that know you and know about you and you've been in magazines and all that, that still doesn't mean that you still got to get your algebra, still got to get your science, you still got to get your religion and so forth. You know, all these things have to still be done.
Father Clement encourages responsibility, but he also wants Joey to enjoy his youth.
I think a teenager growing up, he can't grow up fast enough. He wants to do a lot of things that he really is just not ready to do yet. For example, he's just car crazy.
Until Joey's got a car of his own, the go-karts will have to do. Joey's father doesn't usually take time off for this sort of thing, but today is special. It's Joey's birthday.
I don't think it takes away from them at all, because I never did have what would be, you know, like a lot of priests have a day off. I've never taken a day off. I don't play golf. I don't go out bowling. Now, with Joey here, it simply means that I adjust a few things. I'll say this in all fairness to him. Joey is not a difficult child. I mean, he will listen, and he might balk a little bit, but he comes along, and he doesn't really take me away from my priestly duties.
And Joey seems grateful.
It was my chance to get away from the home. And another thing, it would be a new life for me, a new start. That God has given me another chance to make it through life.
Joey's new life seems to be a good life. Today marks his 13th birthday, but it's the first time he and Father George have celebrated it together.
May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you. May the good Lord bless you.
It may take a while for all this love to sink in. Joey's had some rough times. Things are better now, though. Joey has a dad. And even though he has to share this house with the parish, this new home he shares only with his father.
There's some additional good news with this story. For the first time in 45 years, due to a 500% increase in adoptions since Father Clement adopted Joey, there are no black infants available for adoption in the Chicago area.
Next week, our features include the story of Anchor House, which is a center for teenage runaways located in Trenton, New Jersey. And we'll learn how the Mescalero Indians blend their Catholicism with Native American spiritualism. Remember, if you have any comments or questions, please write us and let us know them. Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, Philadelphia 19103. 1981 has been a wonderful year for us. You made us welcome and happy to be in your home week after week. And now on behalf of all the staff of Reel to Reel, we want to wish you a very blessed, healthy, and peaceful Happy New Year.
Goodbye. Thank you for being with us, and Happy New Year.
Goodbye, and God bless you.